right. Good evening, viewers, and then you are welcome to the Time with Alumni series. I'm your host for today, Dr. Boajekum from the Department of Telecom Engineering, and then I'm also part of the editorial committee. So today on our series, we have Engineer Adelaide Asante, who read agric engineering in Kenya University, and then currently she's the head of West Africa UK Center for Ecology and then Hydrology. All right, so engineer, I don't know if it's okay if I can call you mom.
Call me Adelaide.
Adelaide, okay. So engineer Adelaide, you are welcome. And then can you introduce yourself to us? We all want to know who engineer Adelaide Asante is.
Yes, my name is Adelaide Asante. I have a middle name, so Adelaide Asante. As you introduced me, I work with the UK Center for Ecology and Hydrology as the head of the West Africa office. I studied agriculture engineering at Kenya University from I was in 2000 to 2004. That's quite a long time.
Very long time.
And then I went on to study resources engineering at the University of Karlsruhe, which is now Karlsruhe Institute of Technology in Germany. And then subsequently came back home and been working till date. I have a strong connection always with Kenya University and the College of Engineering and the department. So I do, within my career, have worked with the university a lot. Even when I've been right from the start of my career, I've been within the spheres where I work with the university from time to time, with various departments. I think that's about me. I don't know if I missed anything else.
I think you'll get to know you more as we move. All right, so thank you for the intro. We would want to know from a young girl to a male-dominated field, how did that journey start?
Okay. I think for most of us, and I would say for most of us, that means going through the generation I come from, and probably beyond, and those a little bit who came after us. The career path is sort of cut for us in a way, or what we study is cut for us. If you tend to have a strong mathematical skills, you are told by your teachers, yes, you need to go and do engineering. We did not really, at my early age, I wouldn't say I was so exposed to engineering. I come from Cape Coast. I was born and bred in Cape Coast, and my parents were merchants who would do just trading. And so, and I wouldn't say that they were highly educated. So it wasn't that I had an engineer in my house that I looked up to the first of 5 kids. So it just happened that I think when I was writing BC, I had a strong good grades that meant that you go and do science. So I enrolled in the University Practice Secondary School of UCC. I have a story to that because I actually, at my first enrollment in a secondary school was first leaders, but I wasn't going to do science. And this was me who had been prepped by my teachers that I was one of those who were good to go and do science. So even when I didn't get a science, I had to leave to take a speed that would take me to do science. And so the University of Paris gave me science. And then I went to do science there. At that time, we were doing 4 electives, but we would choose between English science, math, and biology. And so we had the options of which with us being a biology student or a math student. And I had a strong mathematical skills, so math was very good. So I ended up doing elective math and dropping the biology. I think after first Form 1, I just dropped biology and went on to focus on gravity. And so, no, I did not. Sorry, I'm confused because last year we still wrote the 4. Sorry. I think I did write the 4. I'm just, it's been quite a while, but I know I was more at an elective math. My result was elective math. I think we were allowed to drop also. Or I did biology, but I don't remember. But I ended up doing elective math. And so, really, when my results came, automatically university. I must say that I did only choose University, not because of confidence, but I had at that time a sense of, because I had linked was math. The sense was, well, the career path is engineering or the pure math in the related aspects of math. So I did not even look at the sciences, the other sciences, the other natural sciences. So I stood more with engineering, and therefore I ended up doing engineering and agriculture engineering.
Okay. Well, that's quite
So my
interesting.
story is basically that I did not, I must say, it wasn't like I don't have the lovely story, although I dropped an engineer. It just came that way, yeah.
Okay. But then one may also ask, I think during your time, there might have been a lot of programs to read. So why specifically agric engineering?
Another one, again, something that we don't get to choose. And I'm happy sometimes now the students probably are getting more options. In 2000, the universities were basically around 3 universities. If UDS had been established, I wasn't familiar with it at that time. So it was a 3 main universities. And then UCC was, for me, in my understanding, limiting because I could probably just do math, and that nothing else would math that I would be able to do. And so, and then the University of Ghana had a system that within the sciences, so you would have to be given certain oceanography. There were courses that came there. The strong math options were not there. So it was KNUST, and that meant that I was competing with a lot of people who had passed, to do engineering. And so by design, in fact, I had chosen mechanical engineering.
Okay.
That's again with mechanical engineering. The class was full, and so I had an admission, and it was like agriculture engineering. I remember asking those who were academics and with the field or not in the field at least, what is this? And they were like, well, it's basically a branch of the mechanical engineering. So if I don't get to do mechanical engineering, I get to do agriculture. So it was something I accepted because it was, for me, an area I had chosen within the engineering spectrum that I wanted to do.
Okay, all right, that's fine. During your 4-year journey on campus, what were some of the fond memories that you had, and then some of the challenges you might have faced as well?
Yeah, seriously was fun. This was our time that they implemented the whole Western for just first years.
Okay.
And so my first found memories was being a first year in Africa Hall. And we had met those who had gone through the sixth form. So there were quite mature people ahead of us. The final years were those who had they had had sixth form education, so they were quite mature. So the whole activities were very, very much fun. These were people you would consider so much your seniors you know, like your big sisters, and they put together a lot of fun activities. I got them myself engaged in a couple of the Miss KNUST, hall week activities. So those were very fun moments for us. And of course, not only for my hall residents, but the other halls. There was always the male-dominated halls. Then we had Katanga and Unity. That was forever our source of entertainment. I look back and I remember it was my year when we were first year that, if you've heard of the famous, that's the word I need to use, a good word, Katanga, they say shit bomb Africa. They yeah, no, we woke up one day and the phone booth, then mobile phones were not common, so we had phone booth in the halls, was filled with excreta, human excreta at the frontage, all because they had come on sharp rain procession. And Africa Hall, the ladies, when they did nudity, we poured water on them.
Oh.
And they asked us to apologize, and we didn't apologize. So 3 days of continuous waking up in the smell of excreta.
It was a revenge mission.
It was a revenge mission. When I look back, these were fun days when you go Hall Week, Queen's Hall Week, where the Queen's Hall had a whole week when they enacted Princess Diana's wedding, and it was really nice, you know. And the tricks, you know, Katanga Hall Week, where they would do Ninja Week, and we'll walk from the hall, so from admin to that bridge to college, to the side where the lecture halls are. And that bridge, that long walkway where Badger Park is, that narrow, that road,
Mecca Road.
The trees. Yes, that road, and then they would have climbed trees and were holding bows and arrows, and there would be some stick piercing you and were running. These were, you know, and my fun days are those moments, really. Wow. The whole week, it's something that I really, really cherish.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. So, I think most of the fun things that we've talked about are not really academic. So, do we assume that you didn't have fun academically?
Very honest, I would say I did have fun academically because engineering is quite a tough subject. I don't know how we would, you know, I don't know if they still they said engineering ladies were not even beautiful because we were always looking wretched. We were always busy, you know, learning. And so if I would say I don't remember that the learning part was fun. Much more also that the entire class for agri-paintings were just 4 girls out of the class of I think 50 or so. Plus, if you add the mechanical, because we had a lot of classes together with the mechanical. I think the entire class was 90 something. And total girls, agri-painting, we were 9. One of my mates is Dr. Stature coach. I think she just got her associate professorship.
Yeah.
You know, so and Lena, you know, they didn't make. And so we were not a lot. And it was quite challenging studying that time. We didn't have these tools that now, when I look back now, the students, I'm not saying they also have an easy, but we didn't have those tools like that. Laptops were not common. Computer, we used to use the engineering computer lab. If you have an assignment, you go, others out there. It was just one room with a few computers. People having their personal laptops was a luxury. You may get, if you're lucky, you are in a room with a roommate that has come from a well-to-do, then you get a laptop, you know. We do our assignments and we have to print. We could not even afford a printer in the room. So we would have to go out and print and a whole lot of things. So It was, I would say, the academic part wasn't for me fun. It was a lot of stress. And obviously, everybody, even now, you then have these hardcore lecturers, really, it is hard to pass their exams. So we study sometimes throughout the night. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. So moving on, I think you're now the head for a center for ecology and then hydrology. Is it still under agric engineering, or if it's a different field, why that change?
I must say that I've had an interesting career. So I would just walk you through my career.
Mhm.
I completely left engineering, but did not leave entirely. And I say this from after university, I went to work for the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology, and this was right with the year of 2004 when national service we were posted, and been over the year. So, and the ministry, it was environment, but it was a level of policy. And even after I returned, I went to study. I left in 2006, and I came back when I returned to the ministry. Um, my goal, my 2 years before I had left, was good introduction to how we can use a science in the field of saying whether agric engineering, even within agric engineering, you have agric environments. So the aspect of environmental water and all of that. So how we could use that within the decision making of the environment. So that was exciting to me. Before I left for Germany, I got to be part of the Guinea Currents Large Marine Ecosystem Project, which was a network of countries that have the Guinea Current the coast of Guinea, So being part of the projects that had was taking care of or had initiative around coastal ecological zones like mangroves and all of that, it was interesting. And actually that led me to do my master's in resources engineering, which was much more a branch of civil engineering, with a mix of agri, I would say. However, when I returned back in 2009, I had just rejoined the ministry because in 2006 it was dissolved. Science went to the education. So there was a time it was Ministry of Education, Science and Sport. And then environment went to local government, the local government of environment. So in 2009, there was a government, President Mills was the president, and they had reconstituted the ministry. So when I went in, I was really excited to be looking at still more within what I know and as an engineer contribute to the environment, much more when I had done a good thesis research work around tradable waste. So focusing more on waste as a valuing waste in the entire value chain of the waste, and building a model around waste management, domestic waste management in Accra. So got a chance to be featured in the President Mills 100 Days of Getting Ghana Clean conference with the World Bank. Looked at my thesis and asked me to present. Then, boom, I was called one day by the chief director that Adelaide, the director of science in the ministry has retired and needs to go. We need someone to go and understudy him so that he goes, and we want you to go there. That is science. I'm looking at the environment part and you are sending me to science. Anyway, what can I do? It's a job. Let me go in. And I did find passion. I went in there, I excelled in that role. I excelled till 2016 when I was appointed as the Director for Science, Technology, and Innovation at the ministry. Why do I use words like I excel? I found my passion. I went into this field where nobody really was into. There was only one or two people who were into. that. And then in 2009, I get to have my former professors from KIUST, Professor Abeku Hammond, the late Abeku Hammond, and a group of Professor Momadi and Dr. Peggy Otibwatin, Dr. Rudith King, a group of professors who had decided to champion Ghana, the need for Ghana to have a policy on science, technology, and innovation. And these were basically KIUST professors who booked an appointment and came and saw the then ministers like, no, we've spoken to the world. We want the ministry to take this. Ghana has never had a full policy for science and technology. And then they meet me there. It's like, Adelaide, we want you as an alumni to champion this. And so I took it upon myself, wrote the proposal to World Bank for funding to get our first policy in science and technology. 2010, the policy was there. It was the first policy Ghana had ever made that we put on a platform, online platform, Nigeria and London, for the public to comment. And I collated all comments and gave it to the experts who were crafting to incorporate it. And then subsequently, we did a 5-year implementation. Well, this is my pride and joy because Ghana had never had such a policy. Yeah. And look at who is doing it, an engineer, for that matter, an Android engineer who did that. So, and after that, there were others. The next thing I will talk about as an exciting thing that I did working in the ministry was establishing the Space Science and Technology Institute. Nobody would again think that is something of this nature would be done in Ghana. But it was me, an agric engineer, an alumni of tech, sitting in that position, working. And later, I told you that they said the director was going on retirement. When I was called 2009, around April to go and work under him, by August, they had made him go. And I had an entire science unit, me, with no boss. The only person I was to report to was the late Omane Buama, who was then the deputy minister, a young person himself. Just the two of us were the science, he a medical doctor, me an engineer. So they paired us to work together. Of course, our minister, Sharia Ite, was a science person, but she had other things, and the environment side of the ministry is very engaging, the climate issues and all of that. So it was me and Omani, but throughout the policy, I must say, to achieve everything, he was very supportive. We would never even work like a minister and a staff. We worked as a team. And so eventually, the same thing with the space science. It just happened one day when I took over, we were part of this big project called the Spare Kilometer Array, which is an astronomy project. South Africa was bidding to host the largest telescope that would be built in Africa. It was bidding against Australia, and I put Ghana and other 7 African countries, including Kenya and Zambia, as its partners, where when it's part of the land size they are presenting for their bid, that the telescopes will be scattered across these countries plus South Africa. And I had attended several meetings, and we're making strides in our bid. It was leading the comms part and all. And then I just I sit in the ministry and request comes in, sometimes European Space Agency training. I don't even know where I want to send people for training. Anyway, long story short, I decided that we need a space science institute. And I talked to the minister. Eventually, we got it established in 2012. It's a beautiful story I've summarized because South Africa was giving us funding to set up an observatory that will build the capacity. When we one day win the bid, Africans would also be part of the research.
Yes.
And they had the funding for PhD, and also the observatory was, one scientist had found out that we can use redundant telecom antennas. If you remember, before fiber cables, we have these big dishes.
Yes.
That was for telecom. And so the scientist said, once it's a dish, it currently receives signals for telecoms, but to make it astronomy, it will send signals. It will look in the sky. So they can change the aperture for that. And then said, Ghana, you have one. I said, where is it? It says Kuntunsi. I come and I check on it, and it's owned by Vodafone. Ghana has sold Ghana Telecom to Vodafone. I go book an appointment, see the CEO. It was actually the deputy CEO. It's like, well, that dish will be decommissioned in 2015. And I'm talking about 2010 when I was having this conversation. So we don't really mind. Currently, there are 3 dishes. We only use the 16 meter. The 32-meter dish has been redundant for 8 years. It's broken. And then we have a 9-meter that is facing the Indian Ocean. There's a 16-meter that we use to receive calls from the UK. So we can give you, if you want the 32-meter. So that's what we want. How much is like $1? I said, here is it. You know? And that's how we got a dish. And people now go there. If you go to Kuntun, see that dish that people talk about, it's an astronomy observatory. Why am I sharing this? My time with ministry was a lot of achievement, honestly. This I'm just mentioning these 2, including Presidential Advisory Council on Science, Technology, and Innovation, including established technology transfer centers in University of Ghana, in atomic energy, in CESI, Massive Polytechnic. But I told you I found that this was my passion. And I one day asked myself, how am I able to excel in this? And I realized it's my engineering skills.
Wow.
I thought I was distinct from the normal civil servant. I was a civil servant working in the ministry as a civil servant, but my mindset is an engineering mindset. So before I take on any task, I do that model that engineering we are taught to do, the logical thinking, all the things that we learn as engineers.
Yeah.
That makes us apply it in whatever field we're doing. When we apply it in that, when I applied it even in policy, in science policy, and helping decision makers make decisions, I was able to think of that. I was able to be that visionary. I was able to be that bold because of my engineering. And after, in 2020, I left to the African Institute for Mathematical Sciences, where I took on the role of the Chief Operating Officer. That means they train postgraduates, talented Africans all over in mathematical sciences. It's a postgraduate training institute. It was established by the late Professor Adelaide, who is also KNUST's own, and it's amazing also at Ames, the things we did. I spent 2 years at Ames. I'm at UKCH, and your question, as you were wrapping, said, what is it? Here is a research institution. It's a UK research institution that was established. It had been existing as a public institution, but in about 6-7 years ago, it went independent. So it's an independent research institution, not really under the UK government anymore, and registered as a charity, but practically doing research. The staff strength is 750, and we have over 600 researchers in various aspects of ecology and hydrology. But how is an engineer able to be in this role? And this is their first, they hired me to lead the establishment of their first office outside the UK. We have 4 centers in the UK, and this is the 5th outside the UK. And I feel, again, that being an engineer has helped me to be able to take on the role. I told Efia that this week, my colleagues are here, we are doing a training on a model called the JUICE model. It's a land use system model. So it takes the various parameters, the soil, the rainfall, rain data, be it carbon sequencing and others, to model for decision making. And I am in the discussion. I am not the modeler, but I am able to understand what is going on and contribute. Before I joined you, we were just discussing on what would use the model be used for in Africa. What are the parameters when it comes to soil and the things we were discussing? And then we really, sorry. So we really were delving into it. And I think, again, that as an engineer, I am able to do this because of the skill sets I got in KUST, and also as an engineer.
That's quite a wonderful journey. I think we have some few minutes to go. So I would want to take your last words, words of encouragement to the college, whether the staff or the students, and then most especially to the female engineers over here. What do you have for us?
Yes, KUST is a great institution. I told you before that I do come back. Even at UKCH, we are working a lot with KUST. Currently, one of our KUST staff, Prince, is in our center in Edinburgh, working with them, and it's from the College of Sciences, with top concept. And my last visit was early this year. I would say this, that to first to the university, you've nurtured a lot of us. Many who are great people. And I know that there's always a call for us to come back home to build the university. Many do come back home. We are contributing, but we are not documenting. My advice is we should find a better way for us to document our impact. Not only impact in the world, you do send us out there to make impact in the world, but we must make impact in the industry for it to grow, for it to be great still and be greater. And so we must have a better way of documenting. Within these journeys, I've shared the short time I've just shared my journey. I've had different interaction with KUST. How is that documented? My the university you know. To the colleagues or lecturers and the faculty, know that you are nurturing another athlete right now.
Yes.
And how do you want that athlete to be? It's an athlete who, yes, is out there doing great things, but has no fundamentals. It has to be academic for fun.
Yeah.
How do you? I'm just relating to a question you asked me.
Yeah.
In making impact, you are nurturing another says somebody will sit back years later and talk about the university. And the university in you is the lecturers. So the student and lecturers, but really is the lecturers. So how do we make the question you asked me academic fun? The academic part is in the hands of the faculty. So I would, my last word is encourage you that you're doing so much. And see how when you ask that student you're teaching 30 years later, 20 years later, they will say, yes, the academics was also fun. To students, I would say this, that you are in a great university, really. We don't call, KUS doesn't call itself great for nothing. And just a tiny bit of big people the university has mentioned. And you can be more than us. So if you're there and you're listening to me, I want you to aspire to be me and beyond. So don't take this opportunity you've gotten in the university lightly. Build good networks, because it's those networks. this is a short interview, but it's my network at the university that has also been helping me. Sometimes I will call the network, who are now faculties, or I'll call a network. Recently, I had an issue opening my organization's bank account with ABSA. And ABSA was stressing me, and I'm like, who do I know? And I called a friend who is at Bank of Ghana. He's in charge of compliance. Within 1 hour, my problem was solved. I called the Bank of Ghana, and he was my mate. He also did agric engineering. So yes, you are building network. We have been nurtured by this great university, and we are who we are because of the 4 years we spent here. That 4 years counts a lot. No matter how you think your 4 years was, it contributed, it has made you who you are. So if you see yourself that you have achieved, you look at yourself and you know you've achieved, it's time to contribute back to the university in whatever way. If they reach out to you, do contribute. Thank you. May God bless us all.
Amen. Thank you very much for your time, Engineer Adelaide. It's been wonderful and then exciting having you on the show. We hope to do this again in the future.